Hey, what's up guys? In this video I'm going to be showing you how to add LED lights to your DDR panels. So let's get right into it. To begin with, I'm going to be showing you guys this picture here. This is what my pads looked like with the neon tubes in it. This is with the panels on, and this is with the panels off. If you keep them fairly clean, they're still pretty bright, but the LEDs will add quite a bit of brightness to them. So let's go ahead and get these pads disassembled, and we'll move on from there. Once you get your arrows opened up, you'll be seeing this clear plastic guard, I guess, around the side. It has 4 screws, which I'm showing you here, that are holding it in place. Now, I believe some machines have 5. This panel had 5. A couple of mine had 4. I'm pretty sure I was just missing one. So I guess the correct number there is 5. But you just want to go ahead and get those out, which I'll show you here in a sped up process. Pretty much a decent size Phillips screwdriver will get in there. You don't want to use too much force because you can break the CFL tubes. And that could cause a lot of problems. Glass shards everywhere. You just don't want to have to deal with that. So let's be real. You have to be real careful doing this. Not the hardest thing to do, but definitely something you just want to be mindful of while you're doing this. After you get all these screws out of here, which I'm finishing up here, there is a little plastic piece right there that I just took out. And you want to pull that out so you can reach and just grab the plastic piece out and be done with that. There are 4 screws here. You do want to take those out. That will be what's holding that wood plank into place. After a quick removal of these 4 screws, the entire wood panel that the neon lights are mounted on will come out. Once you have removed the 4 screws, I gently tugged on the circuit board there to pull that out. You do not want to put a lot of pressure there. It can snap. But after you do that, then you just want to go ahead and repeat this same process for all the arrows in your machine. Once you have all of the panels removed, then you can begin the disassembly process of the neons from the wood plank. It's just 2 screws per light, and very easy to take out. Just make sure to disconnect the little plastic clips there that provide the power to those boards. After you get those off, you do want to take off the power inverter board as well. We won't be needing that anymore for the way I set this up. And then, of course, you do want to repeat this process for every single plank that you've pulled out of your machine. Now, you do have 2 options. You can just put the LEDs on the steel inside the machine. However, I did not go that route. I wanted to put the wood plank back in just as an experiment to see how this would work. In my Pump It Up machine, I did not put the wood plank back in. It turned out fine. I just wanted to see if this would add any brightness to it, being that the LEDs would be slightly closer to the panels. Now what we want to do is go ahead and prep our 12-volt power cable that comes into our DDR pads. Basically, it's just a hot and a ground. So what I've done is clip the end off and going to strip these 2 ends here. And once they are stripped, we're going to give them a nice solid twist just to keep the wires together, since I'm not going to be using any solder to bond this connection. We're going to be using wire nuts instead. Also, we do want to prep our wood planks at this point with the LEDs. Now, I didn't show this step, but I gave these wood planks a nice fresh coat of white paint just to add some brightness to it, hopefully. Plus, the ones that were there looked really bad and dingy from use. But yeah, what I'm using here is some mounting tape. A lot of people use this tape to modify their pads and to raise the pads up. this is useful for many things, and this turned out to be a really good use for it. After you get the LEDs on here, I'm using a X-Acto knife just to cut the excess off, so there's nothing really there for dirt and dust to consistently stick to. And then after you get your edges trimmed up and get it nice and even with the LED strips, then you can just pull the other side off and stick to it. You do want to try and make sure you line the two LED strips up in very similar fashion as to where the old neon CCFL tubes were. Now what we want to do is drop this back into the machine. You want to be very careful with it because the bracket screws do make it a little challenging, as well as the sensor connectors. So you just want to be mindful of that while you get it back in place. Also, we want to put our 4 screws back in. These 4 screws will hold this wood plank in place. And these can be slightly frustrating. I had them lined up perfectly, however, the screws did not seem to want to go back in for some of these panels. It took a little doing, but just stick with it. You can get them back in there. Now, if you go the route I did and buy the cheaper LEDs off of eBay from China, your wiring pattern could be slightly different. Now, I would suggest testing this before soldering it or wire nutting it. The best way to do this is to have someone there while in the operator menu to go into the light test and select the panel that you're doing. While you're holding those wires together, it should light up. Now, if you have them backwards, it will not light up, but it will not damage the board either, so you run no risk there. At that point, what you can do is just swap the wires and check it again. You just want to make sure that your LEDs are in fact 12-volt DC input. Now that we've finished one panel, we want to go ahead and repeat this exact same process for all the other arrows. This took me about 30 minutes per side with little help. Of course, if you have extra people around, you can speed this whole process up quite a bit. Once you've finished, you can give it a nice test play. It should look something about like this if you use the same LEDs I did. I had a good friend of mine help test these out. And if I do say so, I think they look pretty good. Very bright, however, they do not distract you. A lot of people were asking me to begin with when I posted pictures, those are really bright, they seem really distracting. It's actually not the case. If you're looking for it in a completely dark room, you may notice it. Now, I'm going to also show you here me playing by myself in a completely blacked out room except for the machine. I could see this against the wall slightly, but I was really looking for it. If I'm actually concentrating on the song, I can't tell at all. But yeah, it came out pretty good, if I do say so myself. I'll show you here again what it looked like stock, and now what it looks like with the LEDs in place. Now there is a little bit of discoloration because of the camera. However, pictures and the other videos from the side where the camera's not mounted to the ceiling, that camera actually has a truer image of what the color is. This is mainly to show the brightness difference. I really hope this video has helped you out if you're interested in doing these LED mods to your DDR pads. One side note, this does work with Pump It Up and also in the Groove Dedicabs as well. If I've left anything out or you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I will address them as quickly as possible. And thanks again for watching, guys.